Huh. My VLC music player is actually not playing music. That is actually a concern. I didn't know this was actually a thing that was happening. Oof. All right, so I'll try to figure all that out. Hey, everybody, welcome to the next episode of the of the
Hi, everybody.
Al.
How
Next,
are you? I'm here too. He's
wait,
here, but so am I.
wait for the next episode of the Anime4All podcast. We're here to talk about episode of My Hero Academia, episode 110, Sad Man's Parade. Name of the episode. That's actually kind of apt, considering what actually happened in it. We're gonna go through, I guess, all the notes we have here, like we usually do. I don't think anything changed in in analytics, so I'm probably not gonna. I say I'm probably not gonna, as I'm typing in the login information. This is, yay, professional. This is far from professional, but eh.
You're a highly trained professional.
In some things, others not. I don't know. Oh, yeah, that's right. Skeptical is the name of that dude. I literally had his name down as E because I thought that was his actual name, but I'm not sure. Hmm. This is taking a little bit to load. Ooh, we're not having a good beginning of the month here. I think it's usually how it always is, and then near the end of the month, near the middle of the month was when we hit. Yeah. Granted, I think this is like the lowest that we've actually hit. Hmm. It's probably because I'm not up to date. Yeah, I need to fix that. I knew it was gonna affect us somehow. Oh,
It's that time.
not
I
to talk
wish.
about. By the time people get this episode, they'll know what happened. But yeah, I got backtracked because I completely forgot to upload some of these things we've been doing. So I have the video file. It's being released on YouTube, but it has not been released on the internet waves yet. So that is totally my fault. But hopefully I'll get that rectified soon. If I have to, I'll just have to make sure I convert all the MP4s to MP3s and then release them all at once, which shouldn't be that big of a problem. So we'll see when we get to it. Not much change there. We're not having a very good beginning of September, but we've really only been in September for three days.
6 days.
Yeah, so we're not doing too bad. It's the very beginning of the month, and people are getting, kids are going back to school, and real life is starting to kick in for a lot of people. A lot of people lost their federal benefits, well not benefits, but federal unemployment today or yesterday. No, during the weekend. It got all canned over the weekend. But enough about real life politics. We're here to talk about anime. All right, let's see here. The very beginning of the episode, I've written down that like his name is Skeptical. I think is what you have written down in the notes here.
Mr. Skeptic.
Yes, sorry, Mr. Skeptic. He his ability is to create puppets. I guess his power is kind of similar to twice his power here. I'm not sure what the limits on it are. It seems like he has a limit to how far they can go away from him to be able for him to control them.
Well,
Is
they're
what
not true. I mean, it's twice his power is a lot better. Like these puppets aren't true. Like they're not smart in the same way. They can follow orders and stuff like that, but they're a little bit empty. He said that they were cold, which is, you know what I mean, indicating the puppet thing that they have like no,
I
you
think
know,
that
they're
has something to do with the fact that I think he said he used a fridge to make those.
oh maybe yeah.
I mean,
Um,
I can see the same thing as that they don't have a soul, but I took that as like maybe because they were made from a fridge. They threw that out there at some point. I'm not sure when they threw it out, but they did throw it out there. He apparently can take appliances that are no bigger than humans and turn them into appliances. I thought they said he used a fridge. Maybe I'm reading too much into that. I have no idea. Uh, Toga's life is threatened and causes Twice to have a mental break because he's seeing himself kill her, well, nearly kill her. And we already know that he had an incident early on that caused him to have a mental break when his copies were trying to kill him. And that leads into the backstory of Twice, proper backstory of Twice. Or his name is, I think you have written here. I did not write that name down because that is a long name. Uh, well, you
Where
you, for, you forgot to put the B in there, but you have Ui by Gaurawa.
try that again.
They had a stroke.
Yeah, I think you might have.
I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. It was like Bui Bay. Wait, Boo. I'm butchering this
Why
name.
don't you try Ubai Gawara?
I think his name started with a B though. Maybe I'm wrong.
You just want to say booby.
Maybe I had no idea at this point. Let me go look at his name actually real quick. I thought his name started. Yeah, his last name starts with a B. I'm not kidding. His first name is Jin though, so we'll just call him Jin. But
Can I call him booby?
sure, it's your notes that I'm looking at on the screen right now.
Okay.
um, let's see here. Mental break. I guess before we get to that point, you have some points here that I think are before, at least up to the Ginton versus Dabi thing, which we'll get to later. Uh, You see, duplicate. He can. Yeah, we get some stuff about like Twice's backstory and why he's with the league, and he's trying to be helpful. We learned the main reason why Shigaraki took those bullets for getting rid of quirks. He wanted to see if Twice could duplicate them, and unfortunately,
Which
because Twice doesn't have
sounds like
the.
the main reason they recruited him in the first place was because they wanted that ability. And then when he didn't, it sounds like he felt like he failed them and like wasn't that useful.
I mean, it seems like he just wanted to know his duplicating abilities, but I mean, he stuck around. They didn't kick him out.
Yeah,
But
they wanted his. Well, he was already there, but like they seemed like they recruited him for his duplicating abilities, and then when he, because they can't make those themselves, and then when he couldn't make them either, like kind of a letdown to them.
I wonder if they ever tried to shoot one of those things out of the thing, but I guess maybe the moment that they make contact with the human skin, they just break.
Yeah, it also kind of reveals that they didn't, they weren't able to make more, and they're still trying to figure out ways. At least at that point, they were still having trouble making those. So, and also that they have 3 more or 4 more, because they had the 3 in the little box, and then they had the one in his hand that he was trying to duplicate. But that might not be true. He might only have 3 because the one in his hands turned to mud. So they have 3 more of those bullets, which is plenty for the story, but it's still not a ton.
Yeah, I mean that's still kind of concerning that they show why they needed them. I'm actually kind of curious because All Might's already had a picture with it, like without them being involved. Crap, what's his name again? Smiley dude, the guy who can go through walls. I forgot his name. I'm ashamed because I knew his name. Shoot, dang it, I forgot his name.
I don't know what you mean by smiley, dude.
The guy who goes through walls. When Deku first met him,
Oh,
he faced a wall.
you mean Lemillion?
Yellow Million. I don't know why I forgot that name. Shoot. But the Million's already been taken out of the picture for right now. For what we know, they're working on trying to get his quirk back. Uh, so far they definitely know that it works, but I don't know who they're trying to use it on. Maybe Endeavor, if he becomes a problem. But judging from the fact that how Endeavor's handling things right now, he is a problem. But
I feel like they're saving it for Deku myself, but who knows? Maybe they're just glad they have him.
well, I don't
It's
think
not.
Shigaraki thinks Deku's a problem. Yes.
Well, but
I feel like
All for
Shigaraki will
One,
be trying to use that for people who are a problem. And right
All for
now,
One was probably going to want to try to stop the All for One quirk, right? So if he's kind of the mastermind behind all this, or at least was in the beginning, and this guy's his protege, then what part of his point here is to get rid of that quirk, right? Or
why don't
if he,
Shigaraki even knows that Deku was the next successor? The only person who knows is All for One. I don't think All for One even explained that to him, based on his interactions with Deku. I mean, earlier on, yeah, he But the only reason like he even talked to Deku earlier on was because you know he was there at the when they first attacked USJ. But
Let's face it though, he knows that All For One, he knows that All Might passed on his quirk because he's been watching him, and like when he got there to the scene of the fight, he's like, "Oh, that took you a lot longer than it should have," and he was watching him punch himself out of his
well, I
power,
don't know.
basically.
We're assuming a
Seems
lot that
like watching
Shigaraki knew that. I mean, he knew that All Might was weaker, yes, but I don't know if he knew the reason why All Might was weaker.
but
There's a lot of things there that
yeah, but
you're assuming here.
All For One certainly knew, and
Well, of course, off one knew, but I'm like, don't tell Shigaraki right now. Like, you know, he's the one who's got the quirk killing bullets.
yeah, but All For One, like, I think All For One would see this as enough of a threat where he might have passed things along. Do you know what I mean? Or at least like masterminded like the initial like find a way to neutralize quirks part of this so that he could have a weapon against it. Because I mean, this whole thing seems like one big revenge plan against the anyone who tends to be the like the symbol of heroism in this. You know.
Yeah, but I still don't think Shigaraki knows as much as you think he does.
He
He
might
has
not
reasonings
know,
to do certain things. I just don't think he knows as much as like as what you think he knows. Because
but he's still like the tool of All For One. So like All For One is going to consider like ways to create situations where
I
like that.
get. I mean, I get what you're saying that he's gonna point. He's pointing the tool in the direction that he wants to point it. But I still like it. Just like yeah, I just don't know like if he's really if he's trying to use the bullet on Deku. If he was, I feel like he would have went after him much sooner. Regardless, if he knew that it was gonna, if he knew that it worked, like that's all he should need to know. I mean, yeah, Deku is very mobile, but Deku's still too new to the whole heroing thing anyway. Shigaraki isn't new to the whole villain thing. Well, he isn't as new as he used to be. I'll say that much. But I still feel like he probably like at the end of the day, if he was trying, I feel like he at least that's what I would feel is that if I was Shigaraki to get rid of, if I knew my master had a problem with this guy, I would go out of my way to make sure that the problem's resolved
Right.
versus like letting him be. Now maybe there's some ultimate plan there that I don't know about either. Maybe you know who knows. I'm not saying. I mean I know Shigaraki ain't dumb. I know that for a fact. He ain't dumb. He's impulsive, but he ain't dumb.
Well, he's much less dumb now than he used to be.
I still say there was impulsiveness, but yeah, yeah.
He's made some smart moves now that like show that he's like increasingly becoming a cut above the rest. You can see why they picked him as like someone with a ton of potential. He's growing as well as Deku is. Let me put it that way.
That's I never made the comparison of Yaoyorozu and Twice until I see it in your notes here. I guess it would technically be, but Yaoyorozu can like can make stuff and not really duplicate stuff.
It's a very similar quirk type, except Yaoyorozu can't create life, but and her stuff stays permanent. But it's like a similar quirk type in the same way that you'd say like a gating quirk or something like that. He has a creation quirk.
I get all that. I understand. I never made the never thought. I mean, like I said before, he's duping things. And she's not. Now she could, in theory, because she's done it with those Russian doll things. She's made a lot of those, but they don't. It's because she could do that without using up too much of her lipids.
Right.
But I mean, I get it. It's the same concept.
Well, they need to know. They both need to know knowledge, like scientific data about like what they're creating and understand it, and to be able to create it. The biggest difference is that he can create living things and he's not limited by lipids and stuff like that. But they're like, it's like the gating quirks. Like one guy creates sort of a black hole, the other guy makes you kind of vomit that stuff. But like, obviously they're different, but like they're both gating quirks. So I think this is similar, just something else.
No, I agree. See here we go past the Toga life threatening. Twice has the epitome of a psychological mental break, and we go into his backstory. We know by age 16 he was orphaned. I don't know why. I think this episode they really trying to make you feel sorry for Twice, which I felt more sorry for Twice than I did for Toga. I don't know if it's hypocritical or not, because it's not like Toga didn't have a harsh life growing up too.
Mm-hmm.
But Twice, like a lot of his was just bad luck. Uh, we find out apparently he ran over a motorcyclist at his job who actually was a top executive. That got him fired, which is like, geez, his life was going downhill, and it was going downhill fast. Kind of makes you wonder, like, what potential he even had in life up to that point. Uh, Pretty much him getting fired leads him to making his first double that he talks to, and this starts like an entire just downward spiral from here. He keeps on making doubles to the point where they start doing they start committing crimes on the daily basis. He's like robbing places. It eventually leads to the doubles getting turning on him and trying to kill him because they think that they are the real one, which leads to one of the weird things about his quirk is that I guess when it comes to him, he doesn't know whether he's real or not, and which is part of his mental his mental break because he doesn't know if he's the real one or not. Uh, we also see where he meets Girin for the first time, which is in a bar with a bag on his head.
That's kind of funny.
'Cause I think that's the first time he meets Girin. They talk like they never met before. And so we see a little bit twice his mental break too when he's talking double speak, and he's like, they got the serious one and the not serious one talking both. We also see that apparently he doesn't really split when isn't wrapped up. He just loses he just loses all capacity to function when he isn't masked or whatever. Which is an
Yeah,
interesting
we
thing.
kind of knew that, didn't we? It sounded
I
like
didn't.
standard.
I literally thought he was going to split. Like I thought maybe he didn't have control over his ability to dupe himself. That was my legitimate thing. I legitimately didn't know whether it was just a mental thing or just a physical thing. So that was me. If you knew, then bravo, you knew something before I did.
It just seemed like it fit the motif that he would have this mental hang up where, like, I mean, obviously at some point in his life he hasn't had a mask on and he didn't split. So
I mean, that's true. I mean, like I said before, I didn't. I legitimately thought maybe at some point his quirk started losing control because he definitely did mention that his clones started killing him or trying to kill him. So it just makes sense to me that okay, maybe they can come out of their own will because we do see that they definitely do act on their own. They have their own personality and everything. Uh, I wrote down here double is a very powerful quirk because Garen brings it up. We also see that Garen introduces him to the League. We did talk. I guess we talked about like we did talk about the bullets. So I guess we can move on from there because that's where all that happens. Do do do. As because twice is struggling and managed to struggle free to go over to Toga. They skeptics clones refrigerators go and grab Dobby. Not Dobby. They go and grab Twice, break his arms, and that essentially sets him free mentally. Gotta
mm-hmm.
have broken arms set Twice free from the mental break, so he knows he's the real one. And this is when things get insanely crazy. We see, I guess, the true power behind Twice's doubling quirk.
You know what was stupid to me? I spent so much of this episode wondering which one was Twice, and I never realized that it's the one with broken arms. Every time one died, I was like, "Was that the one?" Especially the one that came up in the
Actually,
elevator.
yeah,
And then,
actually, okay, I got a secret to admit then too. You bring that up. Actually, I was actually doing the exact same thing you were doing, and then you said that his arms are broken. I was like, wait, I just said that out loud. Am I an
right,
idiot?
it was so stupid to me. I'm like, "Duh!" Like he obviously has broken arms. He probably stayed out of the fight. He could use his ability, I guess, because we saw one like basically chopped in
Well, I
half
mean,
in the
the
trailer.
back of his back had all that liquid come out when he was making doubles, so he doesn't need his hands.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
anyway, he definitely had like a way to pull that off. It was just kind of silly that like I didn't think about that. And they didn't either too, because like the people fighting him were like, "We gotta take him alive," and they're like, "Don't kill," you know what I mean?
mhm.
So like you could tell that they were sort of trying to do non-lethal damage, and that was limiting their ability to fight back. And then some of them like didn't care, and like like the ice guy like knocked out a crap ton of them. But like they were like some of them were confused and thought that they couldn't do lethal damage to him. I'm sure that made the fight a lot harder for them.
Well, I think the thing with Twice's ability is just that because he can constantly make, as I actually looked this up because I have checked the wiki in my notes here. uh but Twice's ability, based on what I understand here, the main reason why he says that he can't, the limit that he says that he can only make two something, and then the other has to break, applies to everything else but himself. Apparently, because he knows himself so well, each of the copies have the ability to make another copy. So in theory, he could make, as he called that attack, infinite double. In theory, he can make infinite doubles, and he can make them really fast because the other doubles will just keep on making them as they're coming out. And we see it throughout the entire episode is actually happening. Like each double is making a double. It's like, what the heck is going? No wonder he lost control over it. Uh, and extra description here is like double allow Jin to create a copy of anything two at a time through touch. With double, Jin can produce replicas of anyone provide support in numbers. He does this by creating a dark colored viscous fluid from his hands that forms into the person in question. In order to conceive a perfect clone, Jin required knowledge of precise measurements and physical features of the person or object he was replicating. Doubles possesses the same personality and abilities of the original, making it hard to distinguish them from the real person at a first glance. The copies only recall the memories of the last time they interacted with Jin himself. But I didn't really see that in the clones, but maybe they weren't there and I just wasn't paying attention. Jin had a limit of creating only two doubles at a time. However, because Jin was able to copy himself and his copies also had access to double, he was theoretically capable of producing infinite replicas of himself by letting his doubles duplicate themselves further. His
Mm-hmm.
creation speed was much faster for himself than others. So essentially, because he knows himself and he's special in a way, he can constantly make a flow himself. Because like each double can make a copy. It's ridiculous.
Do you
So,
think that there's any significance to the fact that when he made duplicates to fight for him up in the tower, he didn't make a Toga one? He made the rest of the team.
yeah, that may have something to do with the fact the last time you saw Toga, she was like beaten up. I saw something in here that apparently, but no, that still wouldn't have done anything because he could still make a double of her while she's hurt. He just had to remeasure everything about her.
I think, yeah, he could make a double while she was hurt, but like also like, I don't know, like he didn't make the doubles he made of himself didn't have broken arms or anything, and the double he made of Shigaraki didn't seem to like be overtired like the original was. It seemed like the doubles he made were like in good shape. So I think that he didn't do that because he didn't want to lose track of who the real her is.
That's true. Also, he was probably in love with her, and that we've already established that.
The real one, you know what I mean? I think that's probably it, right?
What the has he actually made a double of her in the past?
I don't think so.
Because I wanted to say, like, if he's made a double of her in the past, that throws that whole thing in wrench. But if he hasn't made a double of her in the past, then.
Or maybe he was just all creepy when he went to double her, and he's like, "I'm gonna need some data."
Well, I was thinking about this since he needs the actual data to.
I need some data on you, honey. Come back here and let's
actually,
get some going.
Yeah. Hey, but during the Chisaki arc, didn't he try to measure her and she said no?
Oh yeah, he might have. It might have been it. Yeah.
That's what I think. No, I think about it. Did he try measuring her and she said no? Because
I feel like where they stand right now, she probably let him measure her. But yeah, maybe.
Well, I mean, yeah, now, but I don't know back then because I don't think he was in love with her at that point.
Yeah.
Because he only fell in love with her after she wrapped him up with that handkerchief of hers.
Are you scientific, honey? Because I want to do it like they do it in the Discovery Channel.
Oh, dear. Does that ever work on anybody?
Can I double your pleasure, honey?
Okay, we're moving on, apparently, because Jock's getting weird.
We don't have just one. We've got three.
Doc-
Oh, the rubber hits the road all night long, baby. We're never gonna run out.
Hello there, Rye. You kind of popped in at a very bad time, but sure, we're gonna just move on with with the rest of this episode.
No,
Uh,
that ain't how the batteries. The batteries never end.
I think the next bit is as you have here, Git Gitton versus Jetton. I don't know how you actually pronounce that versus Davi. I want to point something out, and this has just been bugging me ever since I've been seeing him. Um, if we were to go with a theory that Davi is is the son of Endeavor, the one that's missing. Um, with the way those two are fighting, uh, like I mean, you could almost take it like he Gettin had a vendetta or something, because like the way. Like, there's nothing really to even suggest any all this. I just had this really weird theory that maybe Endeavor's like second oldest son is that guy in the hood because we don't see his face. And maybe that's just an artistic choice that they had. They couldn't come up with a face for him at the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of odd that he's got ice powers and I mean, it isn't like ice powers like his mother would have theoretically. Because we see that Shoto has ice powers. And he can make ice. This kid can't make ice. He has to. Actually, but the way he describes his quirk, he said he makes waters. I guess he can lower the temperature, is what he said, and he can control the ice from there. I'm guessing. So I don't know if there's actually a difference between what Shoto can do and what he can
It
do.
seems like he can kind of control water too. To be honest with you, the fact that he could send water into pipes and then have it burst out.
Well, that's the thing. Is he saying he's sending water in there, or is the water already in there because he knows it's down there and he can just lower the temperature?
I remember him saying, kind of like saying he sent the water in
Yeah,
there.
I saw that, but I was so confused by that because I don't know if that was
It
just a.
could be a translation nuance or something too, but like it sounded like he said the water was in there to me. That's the way I remember it. So if he was sending the water in there, maybe he has a lot more control over it when it's unless he was having the water sent in there and he's put it that way. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, why wouldn't the water be in the pipes? You know. So I don't know. It's a little bit ambiguous, but he might be able to like control movement of water or something like that. Maybe not as good. We have almost no data to go on, but he's certainly much happier when it's ice.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm trying to figure out. He says he's an ice user. Granted, he also said that he trained and pushed his quirk to the absolute that he could, and 'cause he mentions that how powerful your quirk is equivalent to how important your life is, which is an odd thing to say. Uh, he uh he apparently had a bad childhood. Dobby kind of goes on and just like says poor you, and then like just blasts him with fire. I also want to point out in the transition they show Dobby's face and then they say his quirk is unknown.
Yeah.
I just want to feel like wow they really are like we can see he's throwing fire.
He
I don't
keeps
know.
referring to him as the blue flame user. I wonder if that's like a writer's hint about something too, given that then they show him and they say his quirk is unknown. I wonder if like the fact that the flame is blue for some reason makes it notable in some way that we're not aware of yet.
I still stand on this hill because Endeavor used blue flame once a long time ago. I'm still gonna die on this hill. Uh, Unfortunately, because of some friends, I actually learned some stuff about Dabi that I've been trying to erase from my brain, and I was successful until this episode started popping up. So, yay! Uh, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's significant. I mean, they also bring up the fact that like Dabi, his skin is burning. Well, it looks like it was burning when he was using his abilities. And they also bring the fact that apparently a lot of his body is like has artificial skin on it. So I think there's some serious hints that like Dobby's been burning himself using his ability, or
It's,
something's been happening to him that makes him to have to like replace his skin.
oh, I just thought that like maybe like that was the price he paid for pushing his powers in the past. He's burning from the inside. If he goes too far, like he'll start burning all the way through. And that guy knows
Well,
that like
he's burning himself by using his abilities. I mean, technically yes, but I also want to bring up too another another thing that you can make a comparison with him and Endeavor. Endeavor brings to the fact that his quirk pushes his body heat to the point where to exhaustion until he faints. this is actually kind of similar if you think about it. Is that in Dobby's case, he just burning himself on the inside out. He just doesn't faint that we know of.
Yeah.
'Cause like his quirk might be powerful enough that it's actually burning him on the inside out, which is possible because some quirks have been shown to hurt the body. Deku. Sorry. Sorry. I don't know what happened there.
I don't know. You seem like maybe you had a little flash COVID or something like that. You just started like coughing and then you were better. It was kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah, I have Dobby's skin is burning written down here. Trying to use your notes to have things bounce off of. Uh. Oh, you wrote down Garen smoked natural American spirits.
What?
No, you have written down that Garen smoked natural American spirits.
I just thought it was funny. It was funny to me that like he said like,
Yeah, I know. I was laughing when I read that too.
did you didn't mention the bad jokes, did you? Just
uh,
now.
I guess skip over that. No, Compression Man with badges got a free
I
hand.
forget that. He's so
Was that a joke? Because I don't know if that was a joke. 'Cause his hand was like his mechanical hand was busted.
right. So he's in the middle of the fight and he yells out to oh, who the hell does he yell out?
I think this is Dobby.
Spinner. I think he said to Spinner, he goes, do you got a free hand? And when he does it, they show his metal hand in the front, like the foreground. All you can see is his face, his jacket, and his metal hand sticking out from the jacket. And he goes, you got a hand? And the other guy says no. And he goes, that's kind of cold. Oh,
No,
he
I
was
think
talking to
it's
Dobby.
Dobby. Yeah, that's what I thought it was Dobby
Yeah.
because he brings like, why can't you help me? And he says, why should I help you? You should ask those guys. And twice, there's multiple
And then
doubles come out.
Twice comes charging out saying, I got over my trauma, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, it's like the first episode of a hero story. It was weird to see Compression Man, like, who I've always thought is so smooth and mature and professional, like, being sort of like the 2-bit, like, comedy relief in this episode, but that's absolutely the role he plays. So he was kind of a goofy character in this, but, like, those are 3 really bad jokes in a row. It starts around 10:05 of the episode.
Man, I thought the hand thing might have been a joke, but it was like, when his hand was busted. I mean, it would have been funnier if his hand wasn't busted and he said he needed a hand or something like that. But I guess it still is funny if he's missing a hand. He says, "You have a free hand." So I guess yeah. Because a lot of that was kind of like really bad timing though. Of course, the person hasn't done a lot, which is actually kind of surprising. I haven't expected him to do something like really out of the blue, weird, like we didn't know he could do that type of thing. Let's see here. I have here Shigaraki asked the scientist to wake up Gigancho Machia, or Machia is what I'm going to call him, and he wakes him up with One-For-All's
Did
voice.
Shigaraki ask him to do that? I thought he just sort of did it.
I could have sworn that the scientist said you're asking for a cheat, and it's like that sounds like something that only you would say to somebody who talks about video game logic.
I didn't think he was asking for a cheat. I thought he was trying to cheat, was what he said. And that the cheat was having him pit this monster against the Liberation Army. So I thought he was saying that, like, that's a pretty good cheat, like, but you still might die, so I'm gonna, like, and All For One would hate that, so I'm gonna send the guy out early. Like, it sounded like it was to me, it sounded like it was his own idea.
I guess I thought it was like Shigaraki had asked him to do that. I have no idea. I mean, whatever happened, Machia is on his way. I guess is the end all be all. This is like he's on his way. He's coming like a hurricane. This is really bad because he hasn't shown up yet. And I had assumed that he was going to show up for the end of the episode, but he didn't show up yet. So it sounds like we might wrap this up before he shows up. Just I mean, like, I wonder what the point of him being there was that they managed to wrap it up. Let's see here. Shigaraki is closing on the tower with Gecko Man. Spinner. He's Spinner.
Gecko Man.
Sorry. I couldn't think of his name.
Insurance or something?
Oh, no. Yeah, I have not used Geico insurance.
I'm just saying you made it sound like maybe that was going on.
I didn't mean to, but
Yes, you did.
no, I didn't. But you see here. Oh, there's like I guess like Twice comes in to rescue after after more heroes are starting to show up because Shigaraki brings the fact that as they're getting closer to the tower, there are more heroes starting to pop up. Twice comes in to save the day, and Shigaraki says something that I honestly find interesting. Is like I think Spinner says like, isn't Twice enough for this? He's like, no, because he likes Garen too much. And then following that sentence, he says that playing with people's hearts makes me sick or something like that. And like I wrote down, Shigaraki sounded like a hero here, which was odd. I mean, not really odd considering his his heritage, but still kind of odd for the
Well,
way the way he is here.
it hit home for him, I think, based on certain things. But there's also like this honor among thieves around among this group. You're seeing that like they're all really bonded with each other, so it
I mean,
does.
that's
It's
true. It could just also be what it is too. I just kind of thought it was kind of odd that I could see Twice saying something like that, but I just didn't picture Shigaraki being the one to say something like that.
the power of friendship is definitely strong in this episode.
Yeah. I wrote something down here because the guy from the Heart and Minds group shows up, and I say dude sounds are his power. What I really meant to say because I was writing so fast was that I'm starting to think because when he's encouraging the heroes around him, right? Because this kind of goes into your whole idea. There might be something going on with the power scaling. And I've been trying to figure out if that's true, then what's happening here. And I was adamant that it couldn't have been the area. Um, I think this dude, I think his name is Nabata, or whatever his name is, the guy with the glasses that shows up, the guy you see in the preview who makes a mask appear.
Yeah.
Um, I think his ability is to increase the abilities of people around him by encouraging them. Because we see that he doesn't get into a fight with anybody. He just shows up and talks stuff and then
Yeah.
leaves.
I got that impression too that his ability was to like inspire or ramp people up or something like that.
Because he say
Like,
that he says that they all get increasingly motivated, and it's just kind of like, okay, that seems odd. But the problem with that is like though is like I wonder like does he have control over who it motivates or who it
well,
empowers?
it certainly didn't motivate anyone that didn't feel like the message was directed at them. Like the other heroes didn't seem particularly amped up by it. They were more worried about it.
I guess. Um, yeah, I don't really know. We don't really know. We'll see more of him next episode apparently because he'll be more involved. I'm guessing. Uh, let's see here, Grand Commander of the Liberation Army Rikiya Yoshibashi. I guess is the guy. It's the Redestro dude. I have here in one line is like ogre because that's what that kind of reminded me of his the black hand, the guy getting bigger. It just seemed ogreish to me.
I was thinking Clayface
Well, he didn't
from.
exactly change faces. Well, I mean, we haven't seen him do it yet. I mean, but
We haven't seen him change face, but Clayface keeps a human appearance, but like can all of a sudden revert body parts back to like Clayface form and have like those big clay hands and stuff like that. It just felt Clayface like to me, especially because Clayface, when his power starts breaking down, like you can see like his muddy self underneath starting to come through. So it felt a little Clayfacey to me. But like I said earlier before the podcast started, like I wasn't sure if his face turning increasingly brown was a sign that he was gaining power or losing it. Because, like, for example, Iceman, who's an Omega level mutant, when his power went up, he turned his entire body into ice. When somebody like Clayface gets weakened, he can't hold himself together as well, so like he starts looking like his reverting back to his mud form. So it's really hard to tell if he's like
well,
if the
anytime he
situation is getting more
uses,
intense and he's like cutting loose more. Because at the beginning he even says like I shouldn't even be fighting in this arena, like he's way above all these people. So it's possible that it reflects that he's using more and more of his power as he like realizes it's necessary, or it's possible that he's winding out of power. Hard to tell.
well, basically what I was getting at from there is that it looks like it just because it covers his arm whenever he uses it, but then it reverts back the moment that he releases whatever power he had on there. I think it's just maybe it's uses of power, him gaining power. I highly doubt it had anything to do with him losing power because I can see what you mean, but at the same time, it feels kind of weird. If that's the case, he should be really be watching how much of his power he's using, regardless of the situation he's at. He's supposed to be the leader of this group too. Is like the group couldn't do a dang thing with a dead leader. We know he's not gonna die because we see him in the future working with Shigaraki and everybody. Um,
Right.
and also at that point, if I remember correctly, he doesn't even have like the splotchy stuff on his face, which is also odd. If I'm remembering correctly, in the future, he actually looks normal, which is odd.
Yeah, but his the person he's descending from had that on his face, so it's a variant of that guy's power in some way, probably, since he's a descendant and the similar quirks kind of get passed along through lineages.
I guess speaking of like, I guess quirk, or at least the term quirk, um, when we're getting to this point of the episode, things started kind of getting lost in translation, quote unquote. But from originally I had the things they're saying here. I initially took it that meaning that maybe he was the origin of all quirks, or his mother was. But it sounds like more like as I was like watching the second time around, I think they were just talking about the term quirk is is what came which is what came down after everything, because he brings up the fact that I mean, you bring up too that the stigma of quirks and everything like that, but meta powers were coming more rampant. Heroes and vigilantes were starting to pop up more. The government was trying to get a handle trying to get a handle on this, so we can definitely tell that wherever he's from, which you bring up that he must be old. um I don't know what his nose has to do with that, but I mean, sure, why not? But
You don't agree with that? Is that what you said?
so I don't know what his nose has to do with that. Is what I'm saying. I mean,
Oh, that was just originally I couldn't remember his name. I put pointy nose to just remind myself who I was talking about. And then when I wrote his name down, I just didn't take that off the notes because the notes were written mostly for me, but I just also thought you might appreciate having them. But when I couldn't remember his name, he was pointy nose, and then when I did remember his name, I went back and added his name.
okay. I mean, I don't know how old. I mean, he could be really old for all I know. Who knows?
Well, the fact that he remembered, he said, "I remember when quirks were stigmatized." We know that that's at least not during All Might's life. So this guy, and the guy doesn't seem that old. You know what I mean? He seems pretty spry and everything in the fight. So he doesn't strike me as like really old, but he's like he remembers that. So if he is like some sort of shapeshifter or whatever, like because I had mentioned Clayface as someone that he reminded me of, then shapeshifters notoriously it's like somewhat aligned with having a long life. You know what I mean? Like they, um, what's her name? The blue one from X-Men. Why can't I think of her name?
Mystique,
What?
Mystique.
Mystique. Thank you. Mystique from X-Men is like ancient because she actually doesn't really age because she's a shapeshifter, so she can be whatever shape she wants, and like she just doesn't age as a consequence. Like her body can be as young or as old as she wants it to be. But for a shapeshifter, that's very often the case. You just don't age. So if that's the case, then he might have some prolonged life. But it still doesn't make sense if they're seeing this as a way for him to become immortal, because twice his power doesn't really work that way unless they think they have a way to like modify it so that it is.
Well,
Do
the
you know what I
thing
mean?
with Twice and stuff, I mean, his clones could live forever. They just can't take damage. The moment that
Well,
they take the damage that is the equivalent of breaking a bone, that's when they disintegrate. I
the
don't think there's a
clone
limit
is
to
a
how
clone
long.
of his.
Hmm?
The clone seems to be a clone of his current age. He doesn't make a clone and it shows up as like a fetus or a baby or something. So if he's old and he clones something, theoretically it would be old too. In which case, it doesn't really track to think that
Well,
the
with the way Twice, I understand you're talking about like theoretically, if he doesn't age, why does he need Twice alive? I see that in the notes here, but I think basically he doesn't really mean immortality. I think, well, not immortality in the sense that like I'm gonna use these clones to live forever. I think what it is more like because Destro committed suicide in jail, and he thinks that's a tragedy. We know that he thinks it's a tragedy. Um, and he doesn't like the fact that his father killed himself. But it sounds like the team here, they don't think that anybody else would fit to be a leader other than Destro's son. So in a really weird way, to obtain vicarious immortality, if I can use that word, if I'm using it correctly.
Mhm.
The English major will over here tell me in a minute, but that I think he's
What do
trying to
you mean
use
by
this.
vicarious? Define vicarious, because I'm pretty sure you're not using it correctly.
Let me just look that up real quick then.
If you're living vicariously and you know somebody that lives a really interesting life, then you sort of feed off their interesting life because it's interesting.
In a way that is experienced in the imagination through the actions. Okay, so that's not what the word I'm using. No, that's not the word right.
Yeah.
You're like whatever. I mean, I think in a really weird way, he's trying to experience immortality, just not in the way, because we know he knows how Twice's quirk works. We already know that. Um, Based on skeptics, like idea and the analysis of his quirk. But
Mhm.
so I feel like considering that anybody that Twice dupes, uh, the clone acts exactly like the original. And I guess in a weird sense, if he's able to drain Twice's quirk or force his quirk to activate, he'll probably find a way. It's kind of like having a clone on backup, like having a clone in the stasis field just there in case you die, and in the moment you die, there's a program initiated that unlocks the next clone, and that clone wakes up, and that clone believes that clone how Twice's quirk works. That clone believes he's the real thing, and he'll keep going on. And because the clone quirk, or the clone doesn't have as much durability as the original thing, the moment that they die from a hit, then another clone will wake up. Initially, constantly, if they're able to utilize Twice's quirk in the right way, they could make infinite clones of Redestro, and he just live forever. Technically speaking, it won't be the original guy, but it just be clones of the original, based on from what I'm understanding. That might be wrong, but I think that's what he's trying to obtain is some source of immortality, not really keeping himself alive, just keeping the idea of him alive in
Mhm.
the form of a clone. But it's creepy all the same because
Yeah,
they really
that's
want.
I think I
Hmm?
think what they're hoping to do is amp up his power with that shot that makes your power like hugely more powerful. I think they're thinking of like using that drug to amp them up in a way that like maybe the clones stick better or something. I just don't get exactly what it is. Don't forget too, they have that person with the rewind power, um, that they were like feeding off of for a while. So the person with the rewind power, like with the horn on her head, they might have gotten something from her too. Like so, it might be some sort of like combination of things, and he's the last piece of the puzzle. But other than that, I don't see it being anything more than a little bit awkward.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I just took it as like he's trying to obtain some really weird sense of immortality. Now, I don't know what the quirk boosting drug would do to Twice. Um, Based on what we know about his limitations, I feel like all it would really do is just make the clone just as durable as the original. But then again, doing that would probably mess up with Twice's brain at that point. Uh, I mean, more so than it already is messed up. I mean, there's no like he's already messed up in the brain. But if that's what they're trying to do, it seems kind of odd that they haven't made any mention of it when we were watching them. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to do something with Twice's power, but they haven't given out the real main plan. I just took it because he said immortality. Because one of the followers of Redestro says that they're trying to do this so they can get their boss some source of immortality. And it seems like Twice is the way to do it because Twice can dupe people. And he also branded the fact that Twice's double ability is a lot more powerful and useful than Twice is like using it for right now. Which is that's interesting too. It's like okay, so Twice's ability is a lot more useful and a lot more powerful than we think it is right now. The last thing I have here is that Shigaraki collapses the building. Um, as all this is happening up in the tower, pretty much Shigaraki kind of comes. Well, the Shigaraki clone that Twice makes to help him out up there with Redestro says that like you want to protect your friend Girin, I suggest you get ready to cushion your friend. And he's like, cushion. Like when I flew out that window, I made contact with him, and I assume he's going to touch the building, or that's what I would do if I was him. And I was like, wait, did Machia make it? And then we see the hand of Shigaraki touch the building, and just everything falls down. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay, so Shigaraki made it to the building because uh, uh, Redestro was too busy dealing with Twice in the clones up there. But yeah, I have the episode ended there because like the next thing that Shigaraki says, like if humans would have died from that, normal humans would have died from that height. I'm guessing considering that I was thinking, what happened to Twice's clones? But then you bring up earlier on as we're a conversation that the real Twice's broken arms is over there in the in the yard of someone else's house with his arms broken. So like it doesn't really matter. All the clones that were in there all disappeared except for
Yeah, I mean,
Kieran.
technically, he just kind of created a couple clones and then let like shit hit the fan.
Those clones, but yeah, that's another thing. That clone that was up there created more clones. So yeah, we definitely know that his clones definitely have the ability to create more clones.
Yeah. And you start seeing them already, like even at this early stage, like being a little bit conflicted on who's who. Like, so you can definitely see how like he could restart the whole process of like not knowing if he was alive or real or whatever again.
Well, he knows now that he just needs to inflict damage on him to figure if he's the real one or not. Like he said, the only reason why I had this problem is I never thought to hurt myself, which is, I guess, an odd thing to say and realize. But I mean, hey, the more you know. I wish I had that rainbow that could pop up of my head. But yeah, I thought about that and he said, I was like, huh, that's right. Like if you know that about your quirk, then I guess the best thing to do is just hurt yourself somehow. But I guess when you're too afraid to try it because you're afraid you might disappear, then you don't try that because you're in this mental loop that you can't break free. The only time that will ever break free is if someone actually hurts you. So yeah, it's a thing. The next episode is the origin of Tenko Shimura or Tenko Shigaraki. I forgot what they called it, but I find it kind of bittersweet because I think we'll be going on a hiatus here after this week, and that episode shows up.
Sorry about that part.
No, it's no problem at all. I guess I'm gonna let this be known now. There might be a hiatus in it, and if there is one, for sure it will be coming back to October. But depending how I feel about it next week or next Monday, I might just try to solo it. We'll see when that time comes. But either way, see you guys either next week or next month. That's an odd thing to say.
Skiddly, I'm done doing. I'll see you later, baby.
Okay then.